into the car on a Friday night. I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town. I've never seen a sky so blue. We don't ever play it and the night is young. It doesn't matter what we do. There ain't nobody like, there ain't nobody like. You look so beautiful, and I'm so lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. Talking about yourself and you make me smile. I can listen all night long. I tell you about the time when I first met you, listening to our favorite song. Walking on the street when you caught my eye. Something about the way you move. No, there ain't nobody like, there ain't nobody like. So lucky to be yours. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. 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 Jump into the car on a Friday night. I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town. I've never seen a sky so blue. And you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you. I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you. Jump into
Hello and welcome to my webinar on caring for yourself as a caregiver. Delighted you can join me this evening. I would like this to be an interactive webinar if possible, and would love for you to participate as we go along. Please feel free to put anything in the comments as and when you like, or to interrupt me and ask a question if that is what you like to do. So let's get started. And I'm so glad you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with me this evening. I know you are taking time out because you are taking care of somebody you love who is suffering from an illness or disability. You've put all of your time into caring for them, but that leaves you with very little time for yourself and the things you enjoy. You might from time to time feel tired, overwhelmed, guilty, resentful, and even angry because of the responsibility and toll this duty carries with it. you might also be experiencing pride, joy, and gratitude that you are able to help them. You have a huge heart and so much love inside you, but most of the time, you're the last person who gets to sit down, relax, and think of themselves. If this sounds like you, then you're in the right place, and you are not alone. So let me introduce myself. My name is Will Whitford. I spent many years in the corporate world at a senior level as a finance professional. Shortly after I became a finance director of a large company, my wife was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's disease. I thought I was going to lose everything I had built so long. I had spent so long building. I thought I would have to choose between my own career and being a carer for my wife. People told me I couldn't have it all, but they were wrong. And let me tell you more. As a result of this, my mission is to help carers like you, feeling the guilt or anxiety about their own future, to help people who are feeling overwhelmed by the demands of balancing a career with caring for their own needs and those of their loved one. And let me tell you, I had to do the same thing. So before we begin, I'd like to get to know you a little. Let me know your name, where you are joining us from, and who you're caring for. I would love to see your comments. Feel free to comment at any stage. I will be checking the chat from time to time, but would love any of you to interrupt me so that we can discuss exactly what it is that you need, rather than me telling you what I think you might need. Hi, Louise. Glad to see you, and glad to see you here. And caring for your parents is such a noble thing to do, such a great thing to do, but can be challenging at times. It's important not to let it stop you having your own life. And hopefully what we discussed today will allow you to do that to some degree, at least. So what do I hope to achieve in this webinar? Well, I hope to help you start making space in your life for the things you enjoy, filling your own cup, taking care of your own needs, so that you can continue to support your loved ones instead of burning out and feeling overwhelmed. If you can keep your head when all around are losing theirs and blaming it on you, is a line from one of my favorite poems, If by Rudyard Kipling. Have a look at Michael Caine reading it on YouTube. It's very inspirational and worth a look. So it took a family tragedy for me to truly realize that things needed to change. It forced me to look at what was important to me. At that point, I made a decision to prioritize my values, relationships, and the wonderful moments I could create. The more I spoke to friends and colleagues, the more I realized that my struggles were not unique to me. So many people reported feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and unhappy, and were trying to balance family responsibilities with their own dreams, goals, and desires. They wanted something more. And I didn't want anyone to wait for something awful to happen to them to start making the changes they needed. And that's why I've made it my to find a meaning and purpose that will help them find the balance and take the actions that will lead to greater happiness before they reach breaking point. And that's why I'm here today. So let me know in the chat or in person, if you're feeling brave, the one thing that you'd like to get out of our session today. As I said, I'd love this to be an interactive session and would love to hear your contributions. So if you have been struggling with feelings of stress, self-doubt, and anxiety, and you feel like there is never enough time to do the things you really enjoy, then this is probably why. You're burnt out. You're struggling to ask for help and maintain your boundaries. You've lost touch with why you do what you do, and you're not prioritizing your needs and always put yourself last. Being a carer is time-consuming, often thankless, hard, frustrating, and confusing. We often feel completely invisible and alone. What's worse, we struggle with feelings of guilt and shame as soon as we have a minute to ourselves. No one has taught you how to be a caregiver. One day you just became one. So you've been forced into doing things the hard way because you had to. And as a result, you became stressed and anxious. You developed unhelpful habits and behaviors. Your relationships have become strained. And some of the things you might like to do: find time for yourselves, be less guilty about taking that time for yourself, reduce your stress and feel calmer, improve your relationships and communicate without constant arguments over who's doing what. And perhaps you just simply like to feel happy again. And here are my 3 secrets to getting all of that. And you know what? There are no secrets. They sound simple, but are extremely hard to do. They are self-compassion, prioritize self-care, braving, which I will explain later, and I'm just going to check the comments. So a lovely comment there from Fiona, and thank you for sharing that. And of course, you continue to be a caregiver even though your parent has moved into a nursing home. It doesn't end just because they don't live with us anymore. And our responsibilities continue. So if you've anything specific you'd like to ask, I'd love to hear more. And Louise, you're, by the looks of it, looking for some practical advice on how you might find time for yourself too. And definitely, I think I will cover some of that in this webinar. Balance is what it's all about, Fiona. Finding that balance is the secret. And yes, guilt is a constant companion. And let's see how we can help you deal with that. So first of all, self-compassion. And this is so important when it comes to dealing with guilt. when you see your loved one struggling at the end of their life or in pain, it can be very hard to find a moment to stop and feel compassion for yourself and what your life has become. You're entitled to grieve for the life you once had. People don't consider it grieving unless your loved one has actually died. But there's part of your life that has died too. Part of your hopes and expectations that have died too. And you're entitled to grieve for those. And you're entitled to feel whatever way you feel. There is no judgment, no sense that life is continuing as it did before. Grief is a big part of the adjustment to being a carer. So in my world, I learned never to judge, and especially never to judge people in expressing their feelings. If we can do that for ourselves, drop the judgment, drop the feelings, then we are moving a long way towards that. And how difficult for you, Fiona? It's so difficult when we are restricted from seeing our loved ones, and COVID brought that to the fore very much so. And it's the feeling of guilt of not being there is so strong and so profound. And part of dealing with that guilt is accepting it as a companion. It's okay to feel guilty. There's nobody judging us for it. It's okay for not to let that guilt stop us from doing the things we need to do. It's important to bring self-compassion to ourselves. What would you say to a friend or a family member who is feeling the guilt that you are feeling? You would say it's okay to feel the guilt, but it's also okay to get on with your own life. A big part of self-compassion, as I alluded to already, is to treat yourself how you would treat others. So between stimulus and response, there's a space. You can fill that space with compassion. You decide how you fill that space. A superpower in my world is gratitude, finding something in our life that's positive, finding something to be grateful for, finding something that we really enjoy, and feeling the gratitude that we feel when we're doing that. So actually bringing that gratitude to our hearts and our heads. Another chosen response is kindness. Kindness towards ourselves, towards the loved one that we are looking after, and possibly even towards those people who we think should be helping more but aren't. At times of heightened stress, mindfulness can be a great assistance. Just taking a moment to take a breath, to see what's going on around us, to hear it, to smell it, to taste it. Taking a moment to activate our five senses can allow us to come into the moment, accept the pain that we are feeling, calm ourselves, and move on with kindness. At those times, we are called upon to call on our values and our character strengths, and knowing what they are. Remembering the good things that we have done, will do, and are doing now, and the strengths we are bringing to those, helps us move on from guilt and the negative emotions that are so familiar. Remember this mantra. This is something I found helpful to myself and to my loved one. If you are with somebody who is in hell, keep loving them, because in the end, it will be transformative. Sometimes it feels like we are in hell when our stresses are heightened and our anxieties are heightened because of our feelings of guilt and other strong emotions. Gratitude, I referred to already. And for me, this is a superpower. A practice of gratitude increases dopamine level in the brain, reduces cortisol, resulting in much clearer decision maker. So take a moment at this stage to close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and think about the things you are truly grateful for. Put it in the comments if you feel confident. Writing the things we are grateful for, or even typing them into a chat box, can enhance the feeling of gratitude. One of the things I learned to do when a carer was a gratitude journal. So at the end of each day, I journaled the things I felt grateful for. And yes, Fiona, our health is our wealth. I absolutely agree with that. So let me tell you the story of Alison. Alison was one of my clients a number of months ago. Alison was in her 50s, but caring for an adult daughter who had multiple personality disorder. Something we're not that familiar with, thankfully. It seems like a very difficult disease to cope with. But Alison's daughter's disease manifested itself mostly in behavior problems and made it very difficult for Alison to care for her. Alison felt that she had to put her own life on hold, wasn't working, wanted to create a business herself, but wasn't able to. Through some of these practices, through a practice of gratitude, journaling, self-compassion, Alison learned to manage her life better and ultimately began the road of setting up her own business after a 6-month coaching relationship. These things do take time. So the next secret, prioritizing self-care. Remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can only give that which you have, and you can only change things that you're aware of. So taking time for your personal awareness, your self-awareness, your personal growth and development is an important part of caring for somebody else. And most importantly, remembering why it is that we are caring for them can be so important. It's rarely simply out of a sense of duty. The duty can be the beginning of it, but it rarely sustains us through a life of caring for somebody we love. Most people think self-care is for people who have time. But the truth is, self-care is crucial for caregivers like you to maintain peace, sanity, brain space, and good health. And this is what it can look like. Leaving the room when you feel angry, overwhelmed, to collect your thoughts and breathe. Take that moment of mindfulness. Focus on your 5 senses, what's going on at the moment. My mother used to tell me to take a breath and count to 10. Absolutely a brilliant method for coming into the moment. Asking for help and feeling open to receive it. Many people struggle to ask for help. because they're ambivalent about it. They think they're the only ones who can give the care that their loved one needs. And although they say they want help, they very rarely ask for it. For some, asking for help arises from a fear of rejection. They don't like being told no. And one thing that can help with that is maintaining our boundaries and saying no to the things we are not prepared to do. If we become used to saying no ourselves, prioritizing ourselves, then we are happier to accept a no from others. Going out for a night, either by ourselves or with a friend or a family member. So important to re-energize yourself. And in my book, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have for any carer. If you can schedule it to weekly or monthly, whatever your requirements need, then all the better. If you can delegate tasks so you're not the sole person responsible. In my case, the time eventually came that in order to maintain my own career, in order to go to work every morning, I had to get professional carers to come to the house to look after my wife. This meant that my employer needed to be aware of my situation, and I needed to be open with people about what was going on. So openness and candor are so important in this. So how do you have the difficult conversations? It's not easy, but it is crucial. Often we suffer in silence because we're afraid that we will seem ungrateful, we will cause a row, no one will understand our point of view, and we are scared to be rejected or shamed for having our own needs. It's important not to neglect those conversations. And I can teach you how to gain the self-esteem and openness to have those conversations with openness and love. But first, let's see in the comments what conversations are putting you off because of those fears. Okay. So braving. One of my favorite authors is a psychologist called Brené Brown, and she came up with this method called braving of showing up in the world, a method of how we go about our relationships, how we deal with our troubles, and how we relate to people. B is for boundaries, setting appropriate boundaries, maintaining them, and expecting others to maintain them. This involves having the conversations, the difficult conversations that we need to have, communicating our boundaries. If people don't know our boundaries, how can we expect them to maintain them? Being reliable. So doing what you say you do, not making promises that you don't keep. Being accountable. So when you don't do something, when you find it difficult to do something, take responsibility for it, be accountable for it. If it's important that we ourselves are accountable, it's also important that we can hold other people accountable. And this for me was so important in dealing with the professionals that I came across doctors, lawyers, all sorts of different people, making sure that they were accountable to me, but also that I was accountable to them. Accountability is a two-way street, but to get results, accountability is important. The vault. This is about keeping private things private. Don't gossip. Don't spread rumors. Don't share things that aren't yours to share. If your loved one has a concern, keep that concern between you and your loved one, unless it is something that needs to be shared with a professional. But keep private things private. Integrity. Be honest in your dealings with people. Be honest in your dealings with yourself. Non-judgmental. Guilt is a form of self-judgment. We are judging ourselves for not doing the things that somebody else has taught us we should do or we need to do. If we see guilt as a form of judgment, it is easier to let it go. Sometimes that person whose judgment is at the root of guilt is the loved one who are caring for. Remember that they are going through hell. Stick with them, love them more, because that's what will transform their life. That's what will transform your life. And again, gratitude. Gratitude appears in all of the literature and in anything to do with self-compassion, happiness. Gratitude is so important. I can't emphasize it strongly enough. So, a quick recap. Self-compassion, treating yourself as you would treat others. Treating yourself as you would hope others would treat you. Be kind. Drop self-judgment. Drop guilt. Take a breath. Recognize what is going on around you. And move on with gently and with kindness. And remember, it's okay to fall. We are defined not by our falls, but by the amount of times we get back up and keep going. Prioritizing self-care and respite. If you can, schedule a weekly day out or evening out, or even just an hour, even just a coffee with a friend, and braving, setting boundaries, being reliable, being accountable, maintaining the vault, keeping private things private, integrity, non-judgmental, and gratitude. If we can maintain these things, then we can take the time out for ourselves, and we can, if not dismiss the guilt, if not get rid of the guilt, we can learn to accept it and move on regardless. So this might be a good time if there are any comments or if anybody would like to ask any questions. This might be a good time to pause. Okay. So that all sounds very good, very simple, and we know how difficult it is in reality. It sounds like a nice theory, but how do we actually make it effective? And I can assure you it's not easy, and it does need work, commitment and effort. it requires you to take the time out. As Fiona has suggested, it's important that we take that time out to begin to do the work that will allow us maintain our own lives and our own careers. And for many of us, these are habits of a lifetime, and we're looking to change habits of a lifetime. Well, as I said, you are not alone. I've been there, and I have created a space to work with people in a practical program to allow you to look at your needs and help you put in things to place, the things that you need to allow you feel more confident, more self-assured, and create that time. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and unsupported as a caregiver, or if you find yourself struggling to balance your responsibilities and with your needs to take care of your loved one, I've been there, and I can help. I have created a guided support group for a small number of caregivers to come together, share their time and experiences in a supportive, non-judgmental way. This support group is limited to 5 people to maintain confidentiality and build quality relationships, and it is run over 4 weeks. And what it provides is practical and personalized advice and support about caring for your own self-care. It provides a safe place to share your experience and frustrations without judgment, and will help reduce feelings of helplessness, resentment, and anger, and create more headspace for you to make the important and clear decisions that inevitably you will have to make. I am a qualified coach with first-hand experience as a caregiver, and this program will help you feel in control of your life and future. This program is limited to 5 people and has been set at an extremely low cost to facilitate caregivers who are struggling financially. So I can facilitate this payment as €65 per month by 4 months, or $250 when you pay in full. As well as membership of this group, as well as the support you will be receiving from an experienced life coach, you will access my Facebook and private Prosperous Nirvana community, which has a lot of training courses, and also has some affirmation and other products that you will be given free of charge. So if this is of interest, if you would like to start taking control of your own lives, then put a comment, and I will contact you over the next couple of days. And I would like at this stage to offer each of you a free 30-minute call to discuss how your life as a caregiver can change, and how you can do better, how you can release those feelings of guilt, anger, and resentment. So what will you get from this call? Well, hopefully you'll get more ability to prioritize your own needs which will allow you to ensure better care for your loved one. So scan my QR code now and make an appointment, or give me a call or comment in the box, and we can I can contact you in the next couple of days. So finally, if there are any comments, questions, I would love to answer. Good to hear from you, Louise. I know I have an email address for you. I will send you an email in the next day or two to set up a 30-minute call to explore your life as it is now and how it can be improved, or indeed if you want to improve it. So thank you for your comment. I'll contact you in the next day or two with further information. So thank you all for coming, and if there are no more questions, I will let you all go, thanking you all for 45 minutes of your time. Hi,
Hi.
Louise. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks so much. Yeah, it was great to get an overview and just learn a little bit more of what's possible. Thank you so much.
How are you doing? Are you
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, doing all right now. Thanks. Yeah, no, it was good to I saw the email come in. I was glad because I missed the last one.
Yeah.
And I meant to reach out, but I'm not UCD anymore, so I was really happy to see it.
Well, you've been missed from the course because you have enormous skills and ability to bring to us, but I know you didn't feel it was for you, so that's
just not the right time. But
yeah.
But yeah, I've been thinking of you all, so
good.
Sign out now, but yeah, I look forward to
all right. Well,
future.
thanks for your time, and I'll send you an email, and we might set up a chat over the next few days.
Perfect. Thanks a million. Take
Excellent.
care, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Hi, Will. Very insightful there, and you know, I was in that position as I said, and I found all of the things that you mentioned during your presentation. I felt all of those. I mean, it was really pressurized, and I didn't make time for myself when all of it happened, and you know, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I got sick, and I didn't take enough time off work, and yeah, it just brought me back. I mean, the guilt never leaves.
And how is it for you now? How's it for you now, Fiona?
Well, I know she's well looked after, and she's in a good place. Obviously, I still have to keep an eye on things, but
yeah,
you know, it was just even today she rang me and she was like, "Oh, you know, I'm confined to my room, and there are more confirmed cases of COVID." And I said, well, look, hopefully it'll pass. And I couldn't say anything else to her, but I think if your service had been available at that time, I definitely would have availed of it, because it was such a difficult time for me.
So it's just different now, Fiona, with your mother in the nursing home. It doesn't mean the feelings aren't still there, but the day-to-day practicality is probably different, but the feelings
are, you know, that they still are there. And then my sister lives in Clare, so she's up and down. So I'm kind of, and my brother, he doesn't visit as much. He has different commitments. So I suppose I feel then I have to take on not the bulk of the work, but I feel I have to compensate for that. So yeah, it's different, but as you say, it never ends. There's always that feeling of guilt there.
And how was your relationship with your sister while things were at their stress, the highest stress levels? Did that impact it at all?
She was stressed as well because she lived in Dublin at the time. But now I suppose she said she had to kind of remove herself from the situation because at the time, like, we were visiting 3 times a week. We felt we had to. And then I think after the pandemic, things kind of, they kind of settled down a bit, and she didn't expect as many visitors. But it just doesn't go away either. It's still there. It's just different, as you say. But I mean, it was very, very stressful at the time, and then all the kind of the logistics. She was in a rehabilitation center, and that didn't work. She didn't regain movement, and we had to find a nursing home for her, and she didn't want to go into the nursing home. There was all that journey and denial and all of that. So it took a long, long time for things.
I remember when my wife moved into a nursing home, she spent the first 6 months screaming at the top of her lungs it got to the stage where they asked me to take her out of it. So she ended up going back into the hospital for 6 months before we found another nursing home. So that was extremely stressful, and dealing with all of those so-called professionals was a challenge. But anyway, it's just like it has a different impact on all of us. It has a different and every story is different, so it's hard to come up with generic advice for people. You really have to get to know their stories, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with people, is get to hear as many stories as I can.
But like your points about self-care and looking after yourself, they're so relevant, and even without those events, they're relevant anyway. We should be doing these things. I think it's just making time. So I think you only realize that when you take a break and take some time out, and you kind of see, what you have to do yourself, or what you need to do for yourself, and then you get a bit of sense of what you need. But it's not easy. And I mean, like, if definitely when it all happened, when it all kicked off, this would have been ideal for me. It still is relevant, but maybe not as much as it might have been at the time.
But that are life skills apart from anything else. So there's always times in life when we need to call upon these skills. So it's trying to remember them and call upon them when we need them most is the challenge, because we automatically revert to our default ways of doing things that we learned as kids, but trying to kind of remember that it doesn't have to be that way is hard.
Very difficult. Yeah, but look, if we can put some changes in place, we can only try and implement them every day. Yeah.
Okay, so on a completely different matter, Fiona, how is your reflection of what's going on?
Oh God, yeah. I'm still writing it, Will. I've 1,090 words done at the last count. But I'm actually quite tired today. I don't know what it is. And I'm going to try and finish it tonight and edit it tomorrow, because I have to go and visit my mum tomorrow evening. I promised her. So, and I'm going away just at the weekend, just for a night away. So I really hope to finish it tonight. It's just slow going, and like I usually would enjoy, like, this is the kind of thing I used to do in college, and I would generally enjoy. sitting and typing, you know, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just finding this very hard to put together, and
Time consuming, isn't it? It's time. It's
yeah, and I think I enjoy doing the presentation more, even though, and the research,
Yeah.
but like I'm surprised that I'm finding it so not difficult to put together, but just hard to kind of sit down, and I'm doing, let's say, an hour, and I'm counting the words all the time, which isn't the right way to go about it. Like every time I'm checking the word count every half hour, like it's not progressing. So it's actually difficult, but I have enough of material. It's just, oh, I don't know, but I'm going to try, and I'll stay up tonight and finish it, because I want to be able to just edit it tomorrow.
And I wouldn't get too hung up on the actual word count either. I know that they said about 2,000, but then they said they're not that strict on it either. So if you find yourself 1,700, then I'd go with it.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, and maybe I'm putting too much pressure on myself. But I don't know, how long would a video have to be?
Well, I recorded mine, and it was 17 minutes, which is long enough. Like, it's long enough. But the good news about that is that that's all it took me, was 17 minutes, because I didn't write it in advance. I just did a few bullet points to kind of prompt my thoughts, but I didn't write it in advance. So it took me 17 minutes plus maybe about 10 to write down the main points that I was going to say.
See, I would enjoy this kind of work, you know. I'm just, maybe because I'm tired, and the presentation took a lot out of me, and even the build up to it, and just the research. And I think at this stage I just need to finish now and take a break.
And that's the good news, is we have 2 weeks off then before we start again.
Yeah, which is nice. And even I went for a run this morning, and I felt that I did a bit more, and I'm kind of taking a break, you know. And so, but I'm really going to push myself to finish it tonight, because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and have to, you know, push. So if I stay up tonight, do it, edit it tomorrow, submit it as soon as possible. But no, it's okay. Like, you know, I enjoyed module 2 a lot more than module 1. I think things came together. So
yeah, great. Yeah,
listen, I leave you, because I know you have
no problem.
Thank you very much it was a really
thanks for coming along. It was
presentation, and
really
relevant. So listen, best of luck with the report.
See you.
I'll talk again, Will. Bye now.
Bye.